A woman is making serious allegations against Congressman Cory Mills. I have this incident report that details their time in a New Smyrna Beach house. It says that she is being threatened by him. Lindsay Langston is a Columbia County Republican State Committee woman and Miss United States pageant winner. This incident report says she told police that Congressman Cory Mills threatened to release intimate images and video after she left him earlier this year. Things went sour after news broke that another woman who was living in Mills' Washington home accused the congressman of assaulting her in the home they shared. That woman later withdrew her accusation. I asked Congressman Mills about that in April.
You have to have an actual victim for an actual complaint or a crime, in which there wasn't any, and it was actually made very clear that there was nothing that actually occurred in the incident. So I'm all about following due process. I'm all about allowing them to do what they need to do, but I think they're going to come to the very same findings as the prosecutor Ed Martin found, where he said that there was no actual prosecutable charges, there was no actual evidence, and he literally kicked it back to MPD, saying that they had absolutely nothing.
Meanwhile, Anthony Sabatini is the lawyer representing Langston. He is a Republican who ran against Mills and lost. He told me Langston didn't want to comment, but says, quote, "I believe it's time for Mills to step down or be expelled from the House of Representatives."
Woo! Okay. All right, that's Representative Cory Mills. There's a lot to unpack there, right? Okay, so what I find fascinating about that is if you don't know these stories, Cory Mills now is being accused of threatening a girlfriend in Florida. She was mad at him because he threatened a girlfriend in Washington, D.C., his penthouse, which he doesn't deny having a girlfriend in Washington, D.C., in his penthouse. He just says it isn't a crime. Cory Mills is married. So that's Representative Cory Mills. He represents Florida's 7th district. He got elected in 2023. He's been a busy guy. He's got multiple allegations against him: financial misconduct, assault, threatening to release those photos, accusations of the assault of a woman living in his apartment in Washington, D.C., his $20,000 a month penthouse apartment in Washington, D.C. He's under scrutiny for possibly misrepresenting his service, including having a Bronze Star medal and saving people's lives, who the people now say, I have no idea what he's talking about. He was recently sued for unpaid rent for that Washington, D.C. apartment to the tune of $85,000, which apparently he finally paid. He said the online payment system wasn't working for 6 months. The House Ethics Committee is investigating Mills for potential financial disclosure violations and campaign finance irregularities surrounding his business dealings. He's been accused of selling weapons to foreign countries while serving on the Armed Services Committee. I mean, the list goes on and on. And needless to say, this is going to shock you guys, the race for his seat has already begun. Republicans are scared to death. He's one of the most vulnerable Republicans in Congress. Can't imagine why. I don't know how he has time to actually do his job. I mean, it is the weird thing about being a representative. It's like the job's like right in the title, represented. And it sounds like he's been really busy doing other things other than actually represent the people of Florida's 7th district. Now, one of his opponents is a first-time candidate who's got real life working class roots. He was long-time service mentality from working his way through community college as an EMT to working his way through college, earning himself a law degree. And of course, what did he do? He took his law degree, started working for seniors and others who were vulnerable population members. I met him a few weeks ago through a good friend, and I'm thrilled to have him in the hot seat finally. I am Fred Wellman. I'm host of On Democracy with FP1 right here on the MeidasTouch. And this is another episode of In the Hot Seat with FP Wellman, and we are now in the hot seat with Noah Woodman. Let's bring him in. Noah, man, great to have you here.
Great to be here, Fred.
So that's quite an introduction to your opponent. So setting that aside, I ask every candidate the same thing. Every time we talk, Noah, I say, all right, that's a lot. You've got a job. You've got a young family. Why did you step up to run for Congress in Florida as a Democrat?
Yeah, and that background is exactly why I'm running. That you gave an intro on. I was raised here in Central Florida by a disabled single mom in Section 8 housing. I grew up very poor and, was one of the first to finish high school on time in my family. And when I did, I became a teenage dad. And after my daughter Elizabeth was born, I went from flipping burgers at Sonic Drive-In to working nights for the fire department. And, that took me from community college to Columbia and Georgetown for law school. And, it's been a very long path. I work for the AARP as an attorney now, and day in and day out, I'm fighting for our seniors, our veterans, our grandparents. And the big thing that drove me to run is that we're seeing people like my clients, get the short end of the stick right now because of what this administration's doing. We're seeing people like my mom, who's disabled and still needs Social Security. She's at risk of losing that, if this administration gets their way. And the long days that I'm working, seeing Vietnam veterans have their applications rejected automatically because people were illegally fired from the VA, seeing elderly women between heart surgeries have the application for Social Security crash in the middle of their application just because the people servicing those systems were illegally fired. And what do I do when I get home from a long day of work doing that? I turn on the TV and see that my congressman, the guy that's supposed to represent me, is up to all this ridiculous stuff. He's an international arms dealer. There's the serious allegations against more than one young woman. And so I knew it was time to step up and bring our voice to Congress, somebody who comes from a working class family, somebody who's had to make every penny count. That's what Congress needs now, especially with rising costs, rising corruption, and a lot of these programs that are under threat.
So let's circle that. Mills was a big sponsor of the big billionaire. I call it the big billionaire bill. Yeah, the big billionaire bill. It's going to have a direct impact on your district in a very big way. I've actually read some of the stats. I think 51,000 people are at risk of losing their health care in that district. 30,000 households rely on SNAP benefits that he happily voted to cut. It's a shocking potential impact. I mean, are you hearing from folks as you go around the district of their concerns and their fears?
Strongly, yeah, and those numbers are accurate. These are human beings, right? These are people, and I'm seeing that time and again. Whether it's small business owners that I'm talking to that are feeling the squeeze of the tariffs, people like my sister that owns a hair salon in Castleberry that's feeling the squeeze of those high costs, or it's just an everyday family that sadly has to work 2 or 3 jobs, a single mom out there that thought voting for this administration was going to bring costs down, that thought voting for this administration was going to bring stability. And then what do they learn? Well, costs are higher. And now her twins, this person I had the chance to talk to out in Oviedo, her twins are at risk for losing their Medicaid coverage. And her older son's at risk for losing, the nutrition assistance that he needs. And let's call it what it is, hunger. This is a bill that's going to cause mass hunger. And, I think that's morally wrong. And so do my neighbors and friends and family right here at home.
And that goes to another issue with your opponent. Cory Mills is a multimillionaire. He's a very rich man, retiring from the military. He did a very good job of lining his pockets with an arms company. As I mentioned, that penthouse apartment goes for $20,000 a month in one of the nicest parts of D.C., the Wharf district. I don't think he understands probably the concept that people are struggling with affordability, the crisis of not just the prices of eggs, but the cost of living in America. And Florida is square in the crosshairs of an affordability crisis, isn't it?
Very much so. And, this is what I'm hearing and seeing. And I'm personally feeling it, right? I've got a 10-year-old daughter. I'm, somebody that is trying my best to support my family like everybody else. And it's rough, right? Like you're being paid the same and yet you're seeing the grocery bag get smaller. You're being paid the same, yet you're seeing your home prices go up and you're seeing interest rates go up. And even if you're one of the lucky few that can have a home, I think of my cousin Michael, somebody who's like a brother to me, somebody who I helped get through really dark times almost a decade ago. And he made it through the other side. And now he's building a baby crib with his fiance in a house they can't get home insurance on. So that it's a multi-level crisis, and it's really hitting our families the hardest right here at home.
And again, your representative should be fighting for these things, but it feels like he's working for himself. Corruption is a huge issue coming out of this. Yeah, I call him Trump, and I started calling him henchmen now. Like old time mafiosos. And that's the way. Yeah, it's almost a gangster capitalism, if you will. And it really feels like Cory Mills is part of that gangster capitalism world, making money. So it is, corruption is a huge issue for your district more than a lot. I think probably because of these. I mean, I was reading the news before we got on that story, but like one story is like, my favorite one was, I think one of the Orlando papers, like, here are the 5 scandals surrounding Cory Mills. I mean, just corruption writ large. The ethics committee is investigating him. How do you see tackling corruption as part of your platform? And obviously it's something your opponent's weak on, but have you embraced that?
Strongly. Yeah. And it's on the top of people's minds that I see every day. So, for me, the biggest thing is going to be making sure that people like Cory Mills can't enrich themselves on the work that they're doing on these committees. I mean, this is a guy on armed services, on foreign affairs. He has insider knowledge, and he literally is serving himself. He works for his own private arms dealing company, and he's not disclosing who he's selling these weapons to. He's got these strange trips to places like Syria and other places in the region that he's not disclosing, and there's a lot of questions around that. And I think that generally there's a lot of questions about corruption in Congress on both sides, and that's insider stock trading. We have to ban it. The self-service we're seeing from people like Mills serving on these relevant committees, we have to stop them from doing that. And we need to look at ending gerrymandering and putting term limits into place. There's people that have served in Congress decade after decade getting richer and richer, while people here at home get poorer and poorer. And it's a Congress that, it's not just that they don't believe in passing a budget or balancing budgets. It's that the norm is to do quite the opposite. I mean, this big ugly bill put a huge multi-trillion-dollar deficit, addition to the deficit. I don't know where Mills comes from, but where you and I come from, where my family comes from, if you don't balance your budget, if you don't pay your rent, if you don't make do, there's nothing else to say. I mean, you have to. And I think Congress needs to do that. I also think that they shouldn't be paid if they're not balancing a budget and actually doing their job.
Yeah, and those working class roots that you talk about, single mom and had to work. It's a fascinating biography to go from community college to Georgetown, but that probably infuses how you approach these things and the conversations you're having with folks in the district, isn't it?
Definitely, because I've lived and seen both worlds, right? I mean, this is where I come from. I drive on the same street that I had to walk 3 miles on just to get to my job at Sonic Drive-In right after I found out I was going to be a teenage dad. And, I'm going to a lot of these places that, my local store, I was bagging groceries at Publix as a young teenage dad as well. And so, I think that having gone from there to law school and here back home, trying to do the best I can to help my family and my community, we're seeing a lot of that.
I think that's that service mentality, that going back home and helping again, everything. Well, I'm not going to keep you all day. I know you got a lot of things to do. It sounds like you got juggling many things. I think the most important question we ask here at the MeidasTouch when we have folks on is a simple one. Where can the Meidas Mighty find more information? Where can our viewers learn more about your campaign, kind of dig into what you care about and follow you?
Yeah. So our website's noahforflorida.com, NOAHFORFLORIDA.com. And I'd love for them to learn more about me, to see what we're doing here. Like, I'm very proud of the operation we have. I'm one of the only Democrats in the entire country running for Congress that out fundraise the incumbent Republican. I'm one of a handful. This is an R+5 district. It's one of the only parts of Florida that shifted to the left in recent years. Yeah. We can beat this guy. And I would love to ask all your listeners for support, because frankly, that's the way we're going to win back Congress and beat corrupt people like Mills. And I would love to ask for the support of your listeners, and they can do that on my website, noahforflorida.com.
I love it. Well, good luck. It gets great start. It's a good year to be anti-oligarch, and I think it's a great time. And we wish you very best down there. And thanks for joining us. It's great having you here in the hot seat. And good luck. Stay in touch. We wish you the best, brother.
Thank you. It was great being here.
Well, another great conversation here on the hot seat, man. If you enjoy these conversations as much as I do, I hope you'll stay and look for more. As always, you can find On Democracy with FP Wellman every Friday night, 7 p.m. Eastern, right here on the MeidasTouch Network. We got so much going on right now. We have big announcements coming up in the next couple of weeks. I can't wait to share with you the big plans we have here at the FP Wellman world. As always, I am Fred Wellman. You're at the MeidasTouch Network. Check out Noah's campaign. That's a flippable seat, folks. And this is what we got to do. We got to support these seats so we can take back Congress. We can take back our leadership. We can finally have some accountability for those who think they're above the law, like Cory Mills, who thinks we're all just silly little people, that since he didn't actually get arrested, there was no crime, it's okay that he got in a massive fight with his live-in girlfriend in his $20,000 apartment. I think folks like that should be at home sorting out their own business, and so does Noah. With that, thanks for joining us. We'll see you again soon.